looks like my mic's working and you can hear me, so that's a good sign. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. My Morph, can you hear me clearly? Awesome. I like hearing that. Hey, Chris. Here comes Gary. Yeah, I'm doing good, man.
Back in 2001,
It's
when
like,
we first began working.
Technically, we're not starting a new
he
week
pitched this
here
wonderful
because we
series
did.
of books to us. Yeah, he
stuff
called them the
and
Gygaxian
we
Fantasy
did,
Books, and what he
we had that
envisioned was this
Session Zero Monday night.
encyclopedic set of books for role players, writers, game designers, the whole lot of us that we could use in making our games, creating our adventures, writing stuff for publishable
What's up, Gary? How are you?
whatever it may be. And there was
Hey,
really
Jay,
no
can you hear me?
end to
Yes,
what
can
he
hear you.
envisioned
You
this
surviving?
series to be. We eventually
I'm
I'm
gonna have some
living fantasy.
Halls,
7 volumes in total. We had another
Halls
3
mental
that
liptus
were
or
ready to
whatever
go
they're
to
called.
print.
It wasn't coming out both ends
that
then.
we were working on. So the series was
No, it's not food poisoning.
we are
It's
more
bringing
like a
these
flu.
back. That's what
Yeah.
this Kickstarter is. We've
I
got
hate that
7
shit.
books online ready to be printed. We've got another 3 right
Kids
after
will
that.
do
we
that,
want to
man,
get
right?
it
Kids
minimally
around.
Oh,
out
yeah.
as
Bouncing
we're
them
working
all
on
over the
them.
place.
Especially when they're little.
Those will be definitely in PDF,
Yeah.
depending on how well the Kickstarter does, and maybe even more than that. Once
Did
we
you guys decide on
push
your
beyond
Halloween
the
costumes?
necessary
Not yet.
stretch
He's
goals
working
and
on
all
that tonight.
mess.
I was like, you're running out of time,
welcome
dude.
to the
I mean,
to
you
the
know,
what we're
Yeah.
calling the Gary
that's going
Gygax
on.
World Building Archives.
I wanted him to
and
be the
please
Dread
give us,
Pirate
give us your
Roberts, not
support.
be in there
Share it
once
around
fully
if you
because I know
can.
I can get those
Pledge if you
outfits.
can. Whatever
But
you
he's
can
like,
do,
I don't know.
whatever you can do for us in the memory of Gary Gygax.
All right, this is going to be
we
real
very
loud.
much
I'm going to
appreciate
try and shut it down. I missed it. There we go. I turned it down to nothing.
Lord Games, join the fray.
We're supposed to not be able to hear the commercials, right?
You can, in theory. It just depends on. I think I just maybe hit a wrong button. I got a new
Because then if I unmute Twitch, then I'll get the echo, right?
Right. You probably want to hear it through here, yeah.
Hi, welcome back to Gamescape 3D. Today we're going to do.
Oh yeah. Of course I do. Of course I do.
Houses to show how easy these.
It's all good.
Here's the
It's all
house
good.
I have to paint today. It has been primered.
I mean, stomach viruses are going around too, so and welcome. Yeah, we always use our shtick.
We got the base. We got.
Did the file open okay for you?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I mean, I haven't even looked at it, but yeah, the beginning was.
Flatboards here for the wall.
So as I was saying to Sam earlier, just let's not read the text of the sections because Sam and I were throwing a lot of spaghetti up on the wall to see. What we could. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about what we think about every single one of these.
Oh, you guys ranked them.
Oh no,
well,
they're numbered.
They're in reverse chronological order.
Oh,
the most recent.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and a couple of these, of course, you've done Hateful Wars, and you know a lot about Emerald Meadows, so we're counting on you pitching in on.
Oh yeah, of course I'll pitch in on those. Of course I will.
But yeah, what we're trying to do is organize them in a way from like least difficult to most difficult.
Okay, cool. This is a new. By the way, this is a new. You're not going to watch this whole ad for Gamescape. It's like 22 minutes long. It's some speed painting, so I'll show it in parts tonight and maybe tomorrow. Yeah. So Jeremy's got a new vid. I figured we'd change it up. So.
Yeah, if my tabletop needs a cordless drill, I'm probably not going to be able to put it.
Yeah. How's sound out there, everyone? It's good. You will tune in live for Gary's new publication. You will get to see it, but they didn't finish editing it there, so you are.
Yeah, it got bigger than I was expecting and a little more ambitious. So
but it's going to be coming out.
Yes,
trust
definitely.
me, it'll be coming out. It'll be worth it too. It'll be really. It looks fantastic. It's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's not quite a one shot, but it's a. a campaign shot that you could do every once in a while to refresh.
So if you really want to be brazen,
brush. I don't
put it on DM skill.
About getting brown
The problem is that Sam will choke me out. I don't think there's going to be a ton of
on the lighter side of a mid-tone
of people willing to pay for this advice. I think it's just a cool freebie.
You can always put it up there for $5.
And if some of the black
you can also put up pay as you want, and that's zero.
Yeah.
So they can download it free if they wanted to, but they can pay as you go. That's just another option.
In this case, versus a lot of other products, I think they would actually steal some of these ideas.
It's kind of just a waste of time.
Thanks, Kai.
Do make sure you
hope everyone is doing well.
The tops and the bottoms of your timbers.
Gosh.
Okay.
So fun to look at someone paint.
Just paint the faces.
Yeah, I'm going to switch this in 1 second. We'll get a minute or two here.
Because a lot of the techniques, they look bad and sloppy, but then you realize, oh, that had a purpose. You're like, you're just filling in shadows.
You have to come back in to do a little touch up. Okay.
Well, Duck Shoulder, when it's done, it's probably going to be somewhere in the high 20s. Maybe almost 30 pages.
So we're watching Jeremy paint. So this is not the abridged version. He did an abridged ad. This is the full one because that's the only one he gave me that I could import into XSplit Broadcaster. So we're going to get moving here.
But we're definitely going to reorganize the Cannon Fire front page to start highlighting some of this new stuff.
Awesome.
Putting visions directly there, putting, the Vecna book we did, this book, link to other people's projects, link to Twitch channels.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Because, perhaps in a month, you're going to have a bunch of people Googling Greyhawk and seeing what's out there.
So I want to share something too on Twitter to make sure I can get to it.
I'd love to get your take on DM's Guild.
Well, that's exactly. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but something happened.
You're going to probably do a whole show on it, I imagine.
Yeah, probably. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to put something in your Discords, both of you here. And I want you guys. I can't say it live. So,
okay.
Give me a second.
You're having another kid.
No.
Oh. Just kidding. Yeah, Michael, these could be allergens too. I'm pretty susceptible to one.
There we go. I'll send it to Sam too.
Are you sure you don't have some troll blood?
Okay.
What? Hey, what's? Oh my God! They changed the hype chain look too.
I love that. I love that artwork.
Well,
yeah. Oh yeah, from the dragon in the fight. That's a is that a dungeon cover or a dragon? I think it's a dragon cover. And then you guys get some. Great
I think it was used in a Greyhawk product too. I can't remember which one. One of those late '80s, early '90s products.
We're all here tonight for a really cool discussion. And you won't go away empty-handed unless you already have all this stuff. I got some other links for you. I'll explain that.
Mike Bridges has a Battle of Emerald Meadows.
Yeah, Mike Bridges has a little Battle of Emerald Meadows little piece. I don't know where I got that from.
We gotta put that in the sources.
Yeah, absolutely. So
must be hidden on, on his Greyhawkery somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I forget where I got it. It's a full download, so I'll share that. Or I'll give it to you guys. You guys can put it on. It may already be on Cannon Fire. You don't even realize it.
Certainly possible.
Yeah.
Cannon Fire has deeper dungeons than Castle Greyhawk.
Let me set the giveaway up, everyone. Classic D&D reprints. We get to a certain level hype train. I always will double it like usual. There we go.
Sam, are we allowed to know what day is your birthday this month?
Yeah.
Sam's birthday, huh?
Just under 2 weeks.
Oh, towards the end of the month.
Well, that could be any amount then, right?
Last Sunday. Are you happy?
Yes.
That's why I'm always depressed in October.
Oh, man. Why?
I hate getting old.
Yeah, well, join the club.
Do you have a...
You're joining my club. Well, you have yet to join my club.
Do you have a Venmo or the Cash App so we could buy you a drink?
All right. Another Legends and Lore analyst, because Anna is at...
Oh my God! When's the last time Anna's missed the Legends and Lore?
I think it wasn't that long ago. She had something she had to do, and I think it was less than me on that one, if I recall. But then again, it's hard to keep track. I'm lucky if I remember what I had for lunch, right? And that's why I got the tuna fisherman. Thanks, Kai. Kai, tell me that's for me for tomorrow night. Just say it. Just say J for the DM. That way I can already throw a special in for me tomorrow night. So I got Sam Wise and Gary Hooley in here, Pluffett Smedger, for a really great discussion on the coolest historical Greyhawk campaigns, as by their opinion, for you to seriously, because it is an opinion piece, but that's great. But I probably share a whole bunch of them. There's two that are my favorite, and they're early on, and we'll take a look at all the others. All the other ones that they put together. Now, this compilation is good, but it's not 100% complete. I didn't get a time to finish editing, so there'll be a little delay on that. So, cool, man. Mymore, thank you. But it'll be okay. Yeah. It'll be okay, because I got some other downloads for you as we go in this discussion. And then when this is open up, no later than Sunday with Timothy Brannon. But I want to do this first. I want to share something with you all, because I'm going to be brazen here, and I may get in trouble with some other people in the audience. I don't see any of them, though, so maybe I won't. They're not on. Let's go to Twitter. Right? Greyhawk campaign setting is now available for community content. Create and publish new adventures, spells, classes, and more DM's Guild today. So when I saw this yesterday morning, I immediately called someone who we had a major project that we were going to wait for this. That person was like, "It's time, Jay. Get the team together." I'm like, okay. So,
Avengers Assemble.
What's that?
Avengers Assemble.
Yes, but yes. Great news. I will be unrolling a major project that was on hold until this announcement, as a legendary name of Greyhawk D&D at the helm. Reach out to me if you wish further details. Dungeon Masters Guild. Drop us a note with the details. There you go. And I said, sure. So... I'm hoping that major announcement will be for everyone on what we're doing next Wednesday night. As long as Tuesday night goes well, then next Wednesday night. Okay? So just so you're aware, it's open. I know William Henry Dvorak's converting a lot of his stuff over to put on DM's Guild now. So, if anyone in the community puts something on DM's Guild, let us know, please, so that we can promote it, right? So... The panel proves that the world revolves around Gary, his avatar. Yes, it does, but that's okay. And thanks for the hype train to get us rolling here. I know it's hard. It's kind of weird, Sparky, not having Anna here, but we're gonna persevere. So let's take a look at this great doc here. And Moose, I think you won that during Edge stream, man. I think it was won during Edge stream. So it looks like I have your name down, so I don't know. If I put down someone wrong, then they'll let me know in a week or so. I'm talking about a win. And Mook said, I didn't win that. And I'm like, well, I sent it to you. So how did this come about, gents?
Well, Jay, it's your fault.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because of my Hateful Wars 24-hour?
No, I mean that obviously had been in the air for a while. When you said on Saturday you were looking for a topic, I said, "Oh yeah, oh, gosh, I know I have one floating around that can I pull it together in time?" And basically the idea was that just like the Hateful Wars, there are these really awesome, cool time periods in Greyhawk's history, and I think unlike almost any other setting, these historical periods have a certain weight, a certain quality to them that almost makes them feel like they're real. And so, I was hoping one day to do a Visions column, maybe a series on these dates. But this opportunity came up, and I said, okay, let's just do it now. And of course,
I like it.
It's always more ambitious than it really seemed at the time. It was like, oh, it's just a page on each one. No, it's not that. Now, Sam and I could come up with 100 of these.
Yes.
But we decided to limit them to about the top dozen, that we can think of that would resonate with the most people. So obviously, if people have their own, they could take this format and suggest another historical campaign. But here's the kickoff to that concept.
Yeah, and I think it might have been harder cutting our initial ideas down to just about a dozen.
That's right.
Than it was writing about those dozen.
Right, and that's cool. And some people may have some arguments or discuss some other ones why they were left off, which is great. I mean, that's the thing. That's the wonderful thing about this.
Yeah, if someone in chat has an obvious one that we missed, I'd love to hear it, because sometimes you do get blinders.
So look, in lieu of this being ready for all you for download, I put up Troy's Cannibal Publishing, where you can get my Altamira free, this teaser guide, along with 2 other great adventures, right? So at least we in here. So you're going to get the Arm of Qualish, the Ocean's Bounty, and the Free City of Altamira, all free downloads. All right, that's the
awesome.
top. That's the top one. And then the second one is, because we're going to be going over this, Tommy John Kelly's page for the Hateful Wars, the saga of Christian Owen's daughter, and you just scroll down to the middle here, and it's in PDF or ebook version, free.
We should definitely put that as a source.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the book.
So there, and that'll give you some freebies for the community. I'll relink them again later on. Just letting you know that. So I feel for you, because run a little bit behind on this. So it's not in final edit yet. So there may be some goofs on it. So how do I go from last to first or first to last? How do we want to do this?
No, I think we should go in order that they're in the book. Just
okay.
Because I think if we don't get to the end of the list, that's okay.
Okay.
But the ones that are at the top of the list, I think, would resonate the most with people.
Yeah.
And with probably me.
One thing we did on purpose is we excluded any campaigns basically post 570, because that's, for most people, the contemporary campaign. Those aren't really historical. I guess to someone who plays 591, 576 is historical, but yeah, you could come up with some cool campaigns in that period. You could do the whole Assan's raid during Greyhawk Wars and have the PCs be adjuncts to that. You could do a ton of campaigns. So we're just going to exclude those. Those deserve maybe their own as potential Greyhawk starting points for a modern campaign. But
also, one other note to put in. Not in the first couple we do, but as we go back, people should probably bear in mind that it's getting to an earlier period in the Flanays. Things may not be as advanced. Certain weapons, certain types of armor may not be available. And then probably bigger, past a certain point, all the spells of Tensor, Mordenkainen, and all those guys won't be available because those guys aren't around.
They don't exist yet. So yeah.
Which is the oldest? Is Lehman the oldest of that group, though? I mean, he was around for a while, wasn't he? Or am I thinking wrong?
I don't know. They're all in their 70s and 80s, appearing younger than they actually are.
I think he's like 120 or something, but it doesn't matter. It still only goes back to probably the second one. So
yeah. But the previous generation is truly the what I call the company of 7, or the quasi deities. people like Kyotam, Zadig,
Merlin, Kellenin.
Yeah, those guys. Their stuff will exist in a lot of these campaigns because they're not that far old.
Okay. Excellent. So feel free to make any comments. Feel free to have any questions as we go on these. And note, the first one, that's the next one I'm doing, my next 24-hour stream, which is not going to be this year, everyone. Especially all my surgeries and all coming up. But the next one I will do is this one. So let's start here and see where we are.
Yeah. It happens to be the one that's most finished as well. So.
Yes. Absolutely. Cover Sindor's the Greyhawk, God of Time, Infinity, and Continuity. Who nice piece there. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm still working on that. But the idea is that Sindor's realm in the Outer Planes is kind of like could be a potential portal to all these times and places. So you could actually run a historical campaign where the PCs are from the present and have knowledge of the future. That could be an interesting campaign.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, we're talking about campaigns where the PCs are contemporaneous to the events of that campaign.
Yeah. So, yeah, of course the first thing we start with, probably the easiest, I guess.
Well, let's talk about this. Why do this?
Well, oh yeah, well, why for all of them is, okay, you can give players an info dump, a setting lore dump. And okay, that's okay, but there's no involvement with it. If you actually take them and make them play it out, some big historical event, then it's going to mean something to them.
Yeah.
And in several of these, I mean, especially the first one we get to, I'll note that it can really serve as a setup for, as we've talked, your PC is retired. Well, no, he's now the guide, the mentor, the patron for the next generation of PCs. So with a lot of these, yes, you can set up that even something happening 100, 200, 300, 500 years in the past. Instead of coming upon, Lord Joe Schmo, such and such, it's, the great count, your 15 times great grandfather PC.
Absolutely.
The other thing is you're going to have material for these campaigns in a way that you wouldn't if you were doing a future campaign in the world of Greyhawk, right? If you're setting your campaign 20 or 40 years in the future, you're going to have to do a lot of development. Think about what's happened to every realm, or at least a region of realms, and what NPCs are in charge. But if you go back in time, most of that is already done for you. You basically know whether, Furiandi is part of the Great Kingdom or not, or whether, we have lists of kings for most of these nations going back to their origins. So there's a lot of detail already there. And plus, some of these are just pretty cool campaigns. I mean, they're definitely cinematic in quality and would, I think, entertain most players. And you could do it as kind of a one-shot campaign where, maybe the PCs break causality and kill the wrong person that's not supposed to die, or change events, release IUs early, do all sorts of crazy things that could change your campaign. Well, at that point, when they're done with it, you end the campaign there, and it's just another alternate prime material plane that went off in a different direction.
When we get to number 2, I'm going to stop and talk about what actually happened in mine.
Okay, cool.
Because it was really cool. So let's no matter how far back you, that's funny, Michael. That is funny. All right. So most of these campaigns won't have Circle of 8 spells, and that's true, but that doesn't mean much.
Yeah, and if you go back far enough, you may not have, steel weapons. You may not have the longbow. It really is up to you as a DM to decide when these things may have come online, in your campaign setting.
Yeah. You may have bronze plate mail, right? The Bronze Age.
Right. If you go back far enough, you may have bronze weapons.
Yeah. So this is a really cool idea. And let's start out. Number 1, of course. And that's the first, that one really sets the setting for a 576 campaign. The Rise of Temple Elemental Evil in Emerald Meadows campaign. And this is the one that's most complete, too. This one's...
Oh, yeah, because you have the adventure, the sequel right there, T1.
Yep.
Just waiting for you. And there's just a bunch of stuff to do here. A bunch of setup to get. You can see how the alliance was going. You see Furiandi, Valuna, Verbabank, gnomes and elves, even dwarves from the Lort Mills working together. And you're right there. You're right there in one of these new alliances, the forces of good fighting back.
Yeah, this is almost like a reawakening of the spirit of the Hateful Wars. It's like a far off echo of the Hateful Wars. Now those forces are back together again, fighting humanoids and evil. You can imagine the PCs starting in some village or town in this region, and Hamlet. It could be Hamlet itself or something new, and just getting inklings that something is happening, right? That the forces are gathering, dark forces, and so you could run them up the levels until they finally get pretty substantial by the time you run the Battle of Emerald Meadows. So
yes, and the thing is, the moat house will be built, and what would they be doing from the moat house but raiding Hamlet?
Right.
And then okay, what happens when the PCs stop it? Yeah, they go off, they ruin the moat house. The PCs are probably going to be involved in imprisoning Zugtmoy.
Yeah, it's a really, and there's a lot of direction. 1 second, called him the Monty Hall DM for the first time. All right, so this is cool, and I'm going to tell you why it's so cool for me, right, in this direction. This is where I started when I was a kid. We didn't start in 0576. I said, we're starting here. We're all going to be like squires or whatever, like 16, 15 years old, right? And all be at the battle. So all our characters were there. The first generation of characters when I started this campaign. So running in I guess the battle was 569, right? It was cool. And from that, now I was assuming that Hamlet was out. I was assuming that the temple was coming right out for it. Little did I have to know I had to wait 6 years. right, or 6-7 years before that came out, right? So I was like, whoops. But yeah, it's just Hamlet is always there for you, and it's always been there, and you can make some changes to the people who are there, but minor ones. Most of them are still there, before and after. Yeah.
I think that actually might be one of the bigger things. If you run this campaign, all the PCs would be in perfect position to become the major NPCs in Hamlet for when you run T1 next.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Instead of Rufus and Byrne, it's your wizard and your fighter. In the guy in the Temple of Cuthbert, all those people, they're the PCs who played this campaign.
Yeah. And from this, now that it's out, you can run this, have them come up. I always like starting them off as nobodies like we did, and then thanks man, and then start adventuring in Hamlet, going around. Maybe do a T0 that Joe Block has, all sorts of things. Go into the gnarly forest and work because you can't go from T1 to Knoll to Temple.
That's another good addition to the sources. Yep.
Yeah.
T0.
And then.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's what happens if the PCs do something different. So, especially what happens if the PCs lose?
Well, yeah, then you're in real big trouble.
And the horde of elemental evil falls upon all the
then you
neighboring
change
states.
your setting, but that's cool.
Right. So you can have something on the other side like that. And now, if you do the Greyhawk Wars, all of a sudden Furiundi is getting attacked by Ayus, and Valoon is getting attacked by the Temple of Elemental Evil, which rules an empire of evil throughout the Cron Hills.
An interesting consequence of that is maybe Ayus doesn't get released then.
That's true too.
There's another option.
You got a lot of options and a lot of ways you can go because you want to make Greyhawk your own. And we always say this, so take this, please, everyone out there. It doesn't matter how you run your game. You're not going to affect canon. You're not going to affect published source, right? Just do what you want to do with your setting. I did, So and everyone else has, and that's with play style, history, all of it, edition. Play Greyhawk, but play Greyhawk. That's the whole thing that we're all excited about sharing. So, a little sidebar. I know it's hard to watch all my live stream games, but did you all see what happened Saturday night with Ed Greenwood's group, 2 Drink Minimum? So I have it the following, that there are all these little people about that survived either the Battle of Emerald Meadows or got away from the Temple of Elemental Evil. Because it wasn't the craftier humans, right? Not the monsters. They came across a human who was at the battle. She was a foot knight, got all messed up. Maybe they left her for dead. So she said, in order to bring back the power of the water temple, I need to become even more powerful. So she had the stats. She dual classed a mage, and she was a Saxon, which is a foot knight mage in my game, and kicked the shit out of a lot of those people. I put Ed Greenwood's character down Ravelanta for the first time with her ever in all those years, in like 2.5-3 years of him playing. I took out three of their characters. Now once she got surrounded, she teleported and left. All her minions were already dead. So so I actually had someone from the temple remnants still about my game after all these years. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah, and only 3 years after the battle, the prince is kidnapped. So you could actually carry on beyond
Absolutely.
Emerald Meadows and have this campaign go all the way into the 570s with all the scheming that's involved.
Scheming and create character creation. There's a lot of opportunities. Lots of opportunities. It is.
Jay, did you run the battle? Did you use any system for running the battle?
It was 1980, and I was 12. So the answer to that is, it was very descriptive, and the battle was minimized to where we were. Right?
You did like a
small game in the bigger picture, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as well as I could as a 12, 13-year-old doing it way back when, and we all had our characters when we started up. And it was a blast, and it was a long, long time ago, before the Order of Ulick campaign even started, because the Order of Ulick had already existed a couple year or so. When that got formed was when I started counting adventures. So that was before I even started counting adventures. Yeah. Cool. It was cool. It was a real cool thing. So, before it was with my other friends. It was only Alan plays now, but it was great. So, and here is another piece.
It was like the only detailed event that we got in the folio and the box set. We didn't get much detail.
Exactly.
But on Emerald Meadows we did. So Gygax really had a vision for that.
So this is greyhawkery.blogspot. I'm not if Mike has it on the download here, but he has he has details on this in depth.
Nice.
All right. So if Mike hops on, we'll ask him where this is now.
I think Greyhawk Mike had a plan one day to do all the most famous battles in the history of the Flannis in some detailed way.
Yeah, this is not short. Look, he has the numbers, he has the totals here, he has everything. Has the casualty
that looks like one
lists.
of those one of those Wikipedia entries for the ancient Roman battles.
Yeah. So I have this. I don't know where I got it, but he may have given it to me 6 years ago. But I knew I had it on my machine. So let's see if we can make sure that this gets somehow linked on Cannon Fire or whatever. So
definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk to Mike about that. But that is a great reference resource for number one. There we go. Number one. Now my second favorite's number two, of course. So, any questions? Well, Jim, these are battles. A lot of these.
A lot of these are battles.
Battles, Jim. So there's 12 here. Oh, number 3 is mine. All right. So this is Spine Castle, the Fall of Bone March.
Yeah, this one occurs chronologically in between the two you're thinking of. Mm-hmm.
Michael, we will. This is the thing we're supposed to make available for download. It's not finished in its final. Historical Campaigns of the World of Greyhawk. It will be available for download no later than my stream Sunday night. Okay, with Timothy Brandon. I'll make sure everyone gets a copy. It's a free copy. All right, so we will be giving this out. It's just there's a lot of editing that hasn't been finished and references that have to be put in. Okay, this campaign follows the betrayal and fall of the Bone March, one of the last bastions of arity, goodness, and honor during the reign of Neolix Overkings. So I don't know about the betrayal that much. I don't know a lot about Spine Castle and Bone March.
Yeah, so even though it has an ominous name, the Bone March was actually a pretty, good aligned place in the Flannis. It had a lot of Heronians there, a lot of people that were essentially expatriated from the Great Kingdom because of the darkness that sort of overtook the core of it. So you had Knights Protector there. The Marquis was notable for his goodness. And around 560, you had these humanoids start to invade the Bone March.
From where?
From the Rakers, from above and below the Rakers.
Okay.
And these humanoids were of all sorts of tribes, not just orcs. And it almost seemed like they were being, goaded on. And what we find out later is that, yes, there was sort of a dark pact there. The Herzog of the North Province had basically promised the Bone March to these humanoids if they'd take down his hated enemy. And by 563, the invasions had gotten so bad that Spine Castle itself was under siege. And that siege was suddenly broken because the invaders had somehow pierced the inner works of Spine Keep itself, killed the major NPCs of the city, and taken over the city within days.
Was Spine Castle supposed to be impregnable?
Yes, it had that reputation, and at that point it was over 400 years old, so the reputation was well earned. It had held off many Fruzti invasions over the years and other humanoid attacks, but this was far larger and far more insidious than any that had suffered in the past. And so if you ran a campaign in this setting, you'd be probably putting your PCs maybe in the years preceding this invasion, having them maybe adventure in the Rakers. You could even keep on the borderlands in there very well.
Yeah.
And have them, deal with some minor humanoid camps and minor humanoid settlements. And then watch as, things start to spiral out of control and the invasions become more significant. There'll be people who poo-poo the idea that the humanoids could ever take Spine Castle, who think they're impregnable and, nothing could ever befall them. So you do get those vibes. When I think about this campaign, I really think about, the Battle of Helm's Deep in the Two Towers. It's very reminiscent of that, except unlike that movie and unlike that book, there's a bad ending. This is a tragic ending. The humans lose and are completely swamped by the humanoids. And in that aftermath, you could continue the campaign. If your PCs survive, if they're in Spine Castle during the invasion, they could escape. There's plenty of opportunity for that. And they could, the rest of the Bone March is disassembled, slowly. So there are places that fall. Maybe the PCs can hold out and defend various parts of the Bone March or get some refugees out of there. But by the time you get to 576, it's fairly well consolidated as a humanoid realm. And
so let me ask that: when did the Highlander castles appear? Or are they just for defending the Dreadlord, or are they both?
Well, they're centuries old, so they were constructed in order to prevent the Fruzti cold barbarians from coming south.
Oh, okay.
So in some sense, they had very little purpose once the Bone March was established, except as sort of a secondary protection.
Yeah, and this is where, again, PC's changing history if they do something. If they're particularly successful, what do you do if the PCs actually succeed in the defense of Spine Castle?
Yeah, prevent the orcs from getting into Spine Keep, for instance.
Yeah, it now becomes, like, say, part of Radek. Or if the PCs are in a position to become the Counts of Nurl. I mean, if the PCs actually win somehow, because of course you're going to be stacking the deck against them. They did historically, Bone March fell. But let's say the PCs come up with some crazed plan and you decide they win, and now Bone March can become part of Niron with Ratek and really be a thorn in the side of the Great Kingdom.
A lot of direction you can take.
Yeah, conversely, if the PCs lose catastrophically, Ratek could be overwhelmed by the humanoids. Nurl could be overwhelmed by the humanoids.
And the time frames are such that you could have a campaign where the PCs are part of this first generation that fails to defend the Bone March, and then maybe have their children as people who come in the present time and try to take down the humanoid and Hextorian masters of Spine Castle.
Yeah.
Yes,
they just have to get through Les's DMing.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my
really
gosh.
putting something more there, a really personal aspect to it for the players.
That really would resonate.
It's a spot where, unlike the Battle of Emerald Meadows, it does not go good for the good guys. So
no.
Yeah. So was it ever known who was pushing the humanoids?
Yeah, it's Grenell. It's
it's
its
Grenell.
cousin in the north. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The grandfather of assassins. Not surprisingly.
There you go. So yeah, and the thing is, even if those big disasters don't happen, these are things you can put in front of the players. You can really make it clear that their last-ditch defense of Spine Keep is going to be the only thing that stops the orcs from overrunning Ratic.
Right. Even though, yeah.
Or maybe they're only able to make a sort of a rearguard action that allows people to escape to Ratic. And the fall happens, but you've saved thousands or hundreds of people from certain death and enslavement.
Yeah. So all these things you can show the players just how much winds up being at stake with the Bone March, just what its loss means.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a really cool story. I'd be more vested if I was on that side of the map at all.
Jay, you just have to flip the page.
I'm gonna let Les stay there because I think he's Tim-like, and I don't know if there's room for that for me and Les there because Les is he seems like he's got everyone in fear of even playing. So yeah, which is awesome.
Someday on the long list of projects, I would like to do up Spine Keep as a dungeon. So
wow,
we'll see.
That would be awesome. All right, that's number 2 as we go back in time. Oh, wow. Okay, 3. The opening of Castle Greyhawk campaign. Nice.
Yeah, so this is a campaign where your PCs are peers of Mordenkainen and all the people that went into Castle Greyhawk for the first time. So this would be, 50 years, let's say, before the 576 era. You'd have Castle Greyhawk sitting there for almost a century, by itself. No one has gone in. They're too afraid of the former Lord Zagig. They're not, at this point, and maybe in the early 400s, they weren't sure if he was even dead. I mean, he was old, but wizards live a long time. But by the 520s and 530s, they started to suspect that the castle and the dungeons were abandoned because they saw absolutely no activity. And of course, we know as the DMs, that's because Zagig had risen to godhood and he had essentially abandoned the home in the early 500s. So you have this vanguard, this initial group of adventurers who get to go into Castle Greyhawk. Now, this is what Gary ran for his players, right? He got them to go into Castle Greyhawk for the first time, experience the first dungeons and passages, and so you could run a campaign in that same era. Of course, you're gonna have to make up a lot of the material yourself. You don't have access to Gygax's lore, but you could do something like take Troll Lord's Castle Zagig and adapt that material, and you could essentially your PCs will be rubbing shoulders with guys like Mordenkainen and Tensor and all these people that have later become famous.
It's a cool idea. When was IU's released?
570.
And that was by Robbler?
Right.
And I'm trying to think. I don't think Rob Kuntz stated that he was about that. It was part of the storyline. I don't think he actually, you know what I mean?
Although that anecdote is told in classic Gygax material. I forget which book it is, but it is attributed to Robilar.
It is, yeah. Okay.
Robilar, Tensor, a couple other guys
Rigby.
Yeah, who
Queege,
released Ayuz, battled him, but neither side was able to defeat the other.
But he was able to escape. So
he was able to escape and vow vengeance on these people. So
yeah.
But if you're going into Castle Greyhawk in the 530s or 540s, the God Trap is intact. So no one has escaped yet. So you can have as a DM, you could either accelerate certain things by releasing Ayuz even earlier, or you can make it so that the timeline is preserved. The PCs essentially plumb Castle Greyhawk, but without ever discovering where the God Trap is.
You're awfully close here at the end of this to the beginning of the Gordon novels date.
Yes.
So you could actually you could tie in the Arental Gaspar King of the Junk War in Greyhawk City at the same time.
That's
very
right.
close to it.
Sure.
So with that time frame, because I think that's 558 or something like that. I forget. Someone did it backward in time, figuring out when that actually happened, and it's in the 550s if I recall.
This would be a city of Greyhawk that's a bit down on its luck.
Yeah.
Because the treasure has not poured out from Castle Greyhawk yet.
Yep.
So it's a free city, but it's not as wealthy and powerful as it becomes in the decades to follow.
And so there's a couple of things that go from this, other consequences. Remember, Mordenkainen, Tensor, all those guys built massive castles with the wealth they took from Castle Greyhawk.
That's right.
If the PCs are involved, perhaps they're setting themselves up as lords of the domain of Greyhawk.
Maybe one of their wizards becomes a member of the Circle of Eight. You could do all sorts of things.
Now, on the bad side, maybe one of them accidentally does something that gets someone in the circle, unalived.
Yeah.
From the campaign.
Well, and like Jay does in his campaign, by the time you're running another campaign in 576 after doing this, all these guys might be retired. So you'd have these retired NPCs who are, able to be mentors or foils for the PCs, perhaps owning significant properties in the city of Greyhawk or outside of it.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is when all these name spells are being created. What happens if, one of the PCs created one of those name spells and, Mordenkainen or Adaluk just happened to
steal it,
accidentally put his name on it instead.
Lord Brezen's floating disc.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
So
we wouldn't hear the end of it.
No.
Yeah.
So you're essentially, this campaign is all about playing with Gary's origin campaign.
Right. It may not be as massive consequences like the others, but it can be a little fun diversion and getting, like I say, just setting up PCs to be movers and shakers within Greyhawk.
No, this one's one of the ones that surprised me that you put down here, and I was like, wow, that's a cool idea. Absolutely. Yep. And then that leads to and you have enough references, you can take the second edition Greyhawk Ruins and Expeditions and meld them together a bit, because you do have some things that are time sensitive in the Expeditions, but it's got a lot of other references in there for stuff that's been down there.
That's right. So a lot of material that's in future works, like the City of Greyhawk box set, can be retrofitted.
Absolutely.
Into the past.
Yeah, definitely. And the Free City Greyhawk box set has actually got some references to Gordon novels that they must have missed, because like they talk about Arental in there, and I don't know of any other reference anywhere that talks about that. Like, it doesn't say how it went from Arental to Nerf Gosgill. Still no, I have no idea. Right? It just is mentioned in the Free City Greyhawk box set, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. But then they claim to have written that an entire weekend. So a great one there for number 3. That's a pleasantly surprising one for me. Because you really have some
all this text is spaghetti on the wall. We're still
absolutely. I know you rushed this, so
I mean, we only started on Sunday.
Here's mine.
The granddaddy of all historical campaigns.
Absolutely. This is my baby that I did a lot of fun things with this. I prepped this for months. Did prelude adventures for weeks. Did post adventures for weeks, and then ran 3 adventures in a 24-hour period. And this was so those are the dates: Friday, July 12th through Saturday, July 13th. Plus, we were on the Twitch front page for the first beginning of it, so we had over 1,500 people watching it. And that was the death of Prince Tressaren. That one was just that ended with a Butch and Sundance moment at the points that we don't know what happened to yous, but it's bad. And so, and a lot of people did die in that before we got to that point. But we had an all-star cast, 3 sets. I did that, and then 2 from my campaign, which was the destruction of Wolfmaster Keep and then the defense of Hearthguard Tower. And let me throw up the map here so you can get an idea of what we're talking about here. So, Gary, talk about how this comes about, the Hateful Wars here.
Yeah, the Hateful Wars seem to be a consequence of a lot of the things that were happening at the tail end of Keoland's Imperial Age. You had the humanoids of the Ulex and Selene essentially disagreeing with the foreign policy of Keoland and asking them to leave their borders.
Yep.
And they gladly did. They left them undefended. So the humanoids who had been kept in check suddenly started reproducing like crazy. Yep. They were, as we would say, fecund. And because they were reproducing like crazy, they needed new territories to expand, new territories to conquer. And they essentially merged from the Lort Mills in the late 590s, 490s, and plan a war of conquest. Now, what we don't know, and we don't have Gygax to ask anymore, is who was behind this. Was it just the humanoids themselves, or were they being ushered on by some other dark power? I know Jay doesn't like the Scarlet Brotherhood being behind it, but there's plenty of other choices. I mean, it could be Drow, it could be evil humans in a cult.
I want to think. My connection always has been, and Tommy talks a little bit about like his thoughts in this because it's real and it's good. It's good. I don't agree with everything he puts in here, but it's very good. So it's just a free download, everyone, on this site. All right, I've linked it twice. That it probably was like it could have been elemental evil agents, humans, right?
Yep. Horn Society progenitors?
It could have, yeah, there's a lot. I don't think it had anything to do with IUs at all. No, nothing. Nothing at all. This is a localized event.
Oh, right? Yeah, he actually was alive and ruling from Dorica at the time, but there's no suggestion of any connection.
Right, I don't see any connection there. So, but from this, and we started our adventures, and 2 of them were in the early era, and then 1 was in the later era. I think 2 of them were like 495 when the prince gets killed, and then the other one was 505. Right. Yeah. So I did 3 of them, and 2 of them were early. Every good.
I was just going to say the reason why we run it up from 490 is because you kind of want a little bit of lead up, so the PCs can start as first level. Maybe they are part of patrols, or maybe they're just adventurers, and they slowly build up, and then the threat starts to become more real as you approach 498.
Right.
And
there's some huge battles.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to say it's just because there weren't regular patrols anymore, regularly killing, the humanoid raiding bands.
Yeah,
the humanoids just got so much population, they needed more food. They just started raiding more and more.
It was the cost of unintended consequences of the Ulex states getting their full freedom from
their independence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this war is unique in that the demi-humans take the lead. So it's primarily an alliance between the dwarves and the elves, although the gnomes are in there as well. And the humans who participate are not significant. I mean, we have some flan, but for the most part, the humans who are living in the Pomarge are very haughty. They don't even think they need to bother themselves with this war. Right. And the Kiowish, still feeling burned by being kicked out of the area, don't offer any help and don't lend a hand. So it's on the shoulders of the demi-humans to take on this war. And what's interesting, I think, about the progress of the Hateful Wars is that the demi-humans won most of the conflicts. The only problem was that the cost of winning was priceless to the demi-humans. They could not reproduce faster than the humanoids could replace themselves. And so you have a battle between 50 elves and hundreds of humanoids, which results in an elf victory. But if you lose 10 elves, those are irreplaceable. It'll take a century to replace those elves.
100%.
So the elves started seeing it as an enervating conflict when they were getting weaker and weaker. And at some point, the craze over losing the prince consort just kind of died down a bit, and they realized that they were heading for a tragedy. So they pulled out of the war, but they didn't exactly inform their allies, the dwarves, that they were going to do that.
Right.
So the dwarves hate them for their betrayal.
Well, it also Tommy's book says that Yolande kind of was pissed off because the dwarves were instigating larger combat. So she says, we're going to go and that's what Prince Tristram was on. He's on this grand tour to go to Valuna, go to the Ulick States.
Yeah, it was a diplomatic mission
to get the dwarves out. And so when we did our series of adventuring, it was cool, man. I enjoyed it. Let me see here if I have something. So, for example, every character, and I've been making these connections. Every character. This is, for example, this is Farnland. This is Coco's mother's one generation, man. Full-blooded elf. One generation.
Yeah, that'd be close to the timing. Yeah.
And then they recovered her spear, because most of these characters I made them lower, like 7th, 8th level, but I gave them all like semi-legendary weapons, right? And they're refining these now. They haven't found the prince's weapon yet, But that's the fun part. Whoops, that's the fun part of doing this.
There are potentially a ton of hooks you could put in there.
A ton of hooks.
I mean, it's a 12-year-long war.
Yep.
That's longer than World War II, almost not quite as long as Afghanistan, but this is a long war where you will towards the end of the war, what ends up happening is that the humanoids have an entire new generation.
And
humanoids.
The last battle is the biggest at the very end. It's huge. It's a big war, and so we kind of do that a little bit in the third scenario. Yeah.
Now the demi-humans win, but the humanoid survivors fall upon Highport, a city that was not prepared for what was to come.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's that codicil, that aftermath in the Poe March, where you start seeing again a bunch of the alternatives.
Yeah.
What if the player characters are able to save some part of the Poe March?
And you know what the irony is? They fled right through here I said he wasn't there then. They fled right through the kumquat. Where was there, Gary?
I was going to say, on the negative side,
magical kumquats restored their health.
Into this.
What if the orcs and such do better, and what if they wind up in control of the kumquat capital of the...
Yeah, well, it didn't exist back then, so that's a thing.
Well, what if they're just squatting there?
Yeah, they could be. That could absolutely be. But that's the great thing about this thing is it sets up the Poe March and all that's happening there.
We don't really have a good material or history on just when the slave lords started and when humans started interfering with the humanoid situation there, but you could imagine the seeds might be planted
absolutely
at the tail end of these wars. So you could run an entire campaign through these wars, and it could take, as the PCs are looking for, let's say, legendary weapons to fight the battles, or looking for legendary magic to help them win. If they're elven, they're particularly feeling the urgency because the numbers are not on their side.
So let's just say 24 hours by the third one, I was a mental midget, right? Because being up that Curtis trying to keep me up and Tim and me up through the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if I do 3 full 8 hour, 5-hour scenarios again, but it was a blast. And but it is rife for doing it on a smaller scale and starting from the beginning and doing the entire campaign.
So Rex Felix, I would say that most of the humans were Soul.
Yeah. Soul Flan. I'd say just an outright Soul Flan mix, kind of like the Wild Coast.
Not kind of,
but a lot of the Flan remained, in the upper hills and heights of the Pomarsh, and there wasn't a lot of mixing. But yeah, I would definitely throw some Soul Flan mixes in there. Not a lot of Iridians though.
No Soul Iridian? I thought that the Pomarsh, a lot of them were ex-Keelan Lords, no?
Yeah, although that's largely Soul.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, it's a pretty mixed place. I mean, you could definitely have anybody's origin there if you wanted to.
Yeah. That's like I say, I'd consider it like the Wild Coast.
Yeah.
Primarily Soul. There's still going to be some Flan. There'll be a little bit of Iridian mixed in.
Mm-hmm.
But so there's the ever mysterious Tim, my cohort for that Hateful Wars 24-hour scenario.
Another interesting tidbit is that the Pomarsh was once home to the second Vecna, which is a whole nother issue.
Right.
But Sam and I will get into that another time.
Yeah, that was one of the ones we couldn't include, but that would have been like a whole other campaign here.
There's and there's super cool places out in the Pomarsh too. I mean, I love the Twisted Forest. That's one of my favorites of all time out there.
I mean, all this is very Tolkien-esque. I mean, you have potential abandoned dwarven holds that might be, home now to some other monstrous inhabitants. You have, the elven legacy. You have it all there. So it's a great place to set a campaign. Another place you could also place the Keep on the Borderlands.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people that have put it on the Principality Yule, exactly where my Order of Yule keeps are. It's because there's nothing. There should be something there. Same thing. So, yeah, Tim, you were deployed. So hopefully you all now that are watching understand why I'm a left side of the map kind of guy with all this, right? Okay, just so you understand, I'm not. It's not because I have enough to do, and I can't spread out that far.
There's cool stuff everywhere.
There is.
Yes.
Except Nyrond.
Oh man, I don't think.
Where are my Nyrond friends?
Well, you got Phantom on, and I didn't see Valmoku on, so yeah. All right, here's another number 5 as we go back in time. Rise of Ayu's campaign. Interesting.
Oh, this could be another potentially cool campaign. As we know, Igwilv, mother to Ayuz, made a little. I hesitate to use the word empire because it really isn't an empire, but she made a little realm for herself in the vicinity of Perrinland and Ket, and she had a couple of children that we know of. And one of them was Ayuz. Yeah. And if you read my article in A Very Late Stage Dragon, I posit the idea that Ayuz at that time was a unified being. He was a Cambion, but he appeared as a human, a young human, a warrior, and was one of the leaders of her armies. And so you can have the PC sort of start in this Igwilv realm period where they're, it's a 10-year period where she's controlling this area. Mm-hmm. And, the PCs could be, trying to obviously defeat her forces, maybe investigate where her hideout is, where her capital, quote unquote, is. And suddenly something happens and the entire place falls apart. And, the DM knows that what happened was that Grast escaped his prison. Igwilv and Grast have this major battle. He is slain. He goes back to the Abyss for a century. She is so weakened that her powers no longer can hold her little realm together. And I have Ayuz basically splitting into his two forms, his mannequin-like old man form and his demon-like form. So, defeated, they kind of like wander the north a little bit and come upon the soul husks at one point of the Flan. And Sam has a great article in Visions 3 where he speculates on how those soul husks might play a role in Ayuz's rise. But we also know from Sargent and implied in Gygax's stuff is that Ayuz seems to insinuate himself in some family up in the northern Wyastil area and essentially assassinate the Lord and take over and become the Lord of that small realm, probably Randorika. And by 479, he starts to raise quite a force, an army of. We don't know if it starts with Flan. It probably does. These Flan of the North are probably begrudged. They don't like the Oridians in Furiandi. So even though Ayuz is not a a lovable character, they're like, well, this guy, his banner represents our interests. So I could see a lot of Flan humans flocking to him. Their worship, of course, because he has this, essentially soul of an outer planar being, starts to infuse his essence and give him some growth. And if you read Sam's piece, you'll see that at some point here he basically turns himself into a demigod.
As a minor aside on this, I would know in this period, this is well before the Horn Society, but the Horn Society and the lands of Ayuz are probably part of what is considered the Bandit Kingdoms.
That's right.
Right, because it's on the edge of the Great Kingdom's ever influence.
Well, remember the Great Kingdom has already lost Niron by this time,
right?
And it's lost Furiani before that. But all these areas to the north, they're really unorganized. They were barely held to begin with. So this is probably half Bandit Kingdoms, but it's also, if you look at some of the other stuff, this is half Rovers of the Barons territory.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the people that are following Ayuz, well, look at the people who followed called Lexstead off to become Stonefist. There are some nasty people among the Rovers, outcasts for whatever reason, that are willing to follow an evil warlord. And the ones in Ayuz that followed an evil warlord, well, he happened to be a Cambion who raises himself to demi-power.
Yeah, so if you have PCs that maybe originate in the Vesvi Forest or the High Folk or the mountains of the Yaddles or Parentland.
Platspurs, the gnomes.
Yeah, you could have these PCs basically following a campaign with beats that follow the rise of Ayuz. And the PCs are attempting to stop this. And if you're a DM who allows them to do it, well, they can do it. But if you follow the canonical campaign, then the PCs are, they're trying to slow him down. They're trying to stop him. And by 503, 505, maybe these PCs are name level pretty high up. And that's when Zagig and a bunch of allies, which could include the PCs, managed to capture Ayuz and imprison him. So that could be the ultimate end goal of this campaign.
I think in this time frame too, Shokanth and Tharisdan in that area are eligible adventures.
Yes, right? They'd still be around. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what year Grazitz imprisons Igwolf. I don't know that year offhand. So it's got to be in the late 490s, right? It's not in the 500s, I thought.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So.
And there's a suggestion that she is acting as an advisor of power behind the throne to Ayuz, her son, but then she disappears. And that's when we think she was lured to the abyss and becomes imprisoned there.
Rexelis, this book will be out for free download by Sunday, okay? So by Gavin Sunday, we'll have a link for it, okay? Just note. Just so it's not ready and it's 100%, so, yep. Joe's got more, just real quick. It's subject to conjecture because, Andrew Scott Perry has his, is it a campaign setting or is it, warp and all that? But yeah, maybe I should be. It'll be 45 in 3 months. So yeah, well, I appreciate that. It is 44 years. Yeah. Since I was a kid, 1980 when it first came out. And Tim's on too. And Tim was part of it. So that's how long I've known that crazy EMFer. So ripping tongues out. I love
this is another one. This is another one where you could do the generational trick, right? You could have the PCs up to 503 retire, and then in 570 their grandchildren, have to take on IU's release and his restoration.
Yeah, I mean, and the PCs playing in this, obviously, they could expect some reasonable rewards. They'd be the ones on the borders. They might be Knights of the Heart, holding important border fortresses against, any future. Or if they're really aggressive, maybe they're leading Furiundi in a Great Northern Crusade in 505 or 513. Maybe they're conquering part of what is the Bandit Kingdoms. They're conquering what would be the Horn Society. There's a PC ruling in Molag. And has to stop the rise of the Horn Society that way.
Right. So about a decade after IU's disappears, we have this Horn Society move in and take over his summer capital.
See, I would even be a little more devious. If you make it generational for humans, I'd start fighting Igwald first. And then the next generation has to deal with IUs.
You could do it that way, absolutely. Now, if your PCs are all demi-humans, they could literally be the same people who fought Igwald and then IUs a century
dwarves
later.
And elves especially, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
which would be cool. And that area is
again another campaign that has these Tolkien-esque undertones.
It does, and this whole area is rife with all the demi-humans you need and humans. You got to just. It's
a fantastic area to start a campaign.
Absolutely, and the Vespi is like the Mirkwood of Greyhawk, right?
I mean, a parallel project to this one is one which maybe suggests to new DMs to Greyhawk where the coolest places to start a campaign are, in the opinion of the authors, and there's probably a dozen around the Flannis that lend themselves to such starts.
Excellent one. Just seeing where we are. So we're almost halfway through, and it's 8. So we're on a good pace here.
We're on a good pace.
Yeah.
Sam and I were worried.
Nah, it's good.
Yeah.
No, I knew this was gonna. We're good. Oh, Mike Bridges would love this.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk what happens here, because this is good background information for me too.
Yeah, since we're going backwards in time, this is an earlier generation to the Hateful Wars. This is a period towards the mid-tail end of the Kiosh Empire, when a series of Kiosh kings essentially derail so many relationships around the Sheldamar Valley that you essentially have an internecine war that breaks out between two factions, two houses, two cadet branches of the House of Rolla, which is the ruling house of Keeland at the time.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, no, that I think is the big thing here. This one really would focus on. It's not just the rise of the Sea Princes. This is the Rolla family civil war. For which branch of the family is going to rule Keeland.
And what's kind of cool about this campaign, Jay, is that you have related people on both sides of the conflict. So you have the Kiosh Navy, which, you could run like a whole Pirates of the Caribbean like campaign here. You have the Kiosh Navy acting almost like the British, and then you have the Sea Princes acting like the pirates. And there are Rolla on both sides of the battle, and that's not widely known. It's suspected in some quarters, but what essentially happens is that you have an alliance between a prince in Monmurg and a prince in Port Tolly, and the other prince is quite a dark individual. And what ends up happening is the prince in the north in Monmurg is killed and his ship is sunk, and so the Sea Princes take quite a dark turn at that point and become a major slaving force.
Oh, there's even more elements in there. Yeah, Gary's trying. I think Gary's kind of downplaying a bunch of them.
So is this a tributary of Keeland at this time, or no?
It's part of Keeland.
It's part of Keeland. Okay.
It's like South Gradsol.
Okay.
So what happens is the current king of Keeland, his oldest son and heir, just got turned into a sword wraith in Jeff.
Whoops.
And now his cousin's leading a civil war against him.
Oh, I think that's afterwards, though.
I think Jeff comes just before the sequence.
When is the Battle of Gorna?
I think it comes just before the climax.
Okay.
So you really have this situation where he's not happy. Oh yeah, it has to come before, because when Tavish III dies at Westkeep, Tavish IV becomes king.
Okay.
So
yeah, this period, 453, would include the last time a royal led a force of arms in the Flannis, of at least of the human royals, and he ends up dying outside of Westkeep.
Wow. Yeah, and he loses like the artifact level family sword.
So you could have PCs on the Kiowish side, outside Westkeep. You could have PCs on the inside defending Westkeep. It just really depends on how you want to cast it, because in both sides they'll definitely see themselves as the heroes, but there are few heroes.
This is the perfect time for if you want good pirating. This is it.
Yes.
This is like running Pirates, the computer game, when you could be the British.
Yes. I remember
Spanish
that game.
And the Dutch and all. This is the perfect time for running this.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
From what I have, Gary, it's 450 when Prince Lucian dies at Gorna, and 453 when Tavish III dies at Westkeep.
Excellent. So it's really tight. You could really have the PCs involved in all these events.
I like your sources here, Greyhawk for a lot of it.
And of course,
and because we don't know all the 30 captains,
right,
of the Sea Princes, some of the PCs could end up being captains.
Yes. And again, this is another one of those things where you could have wild swings in history. If the Sea Prince wins, he could be as good a leader as Tavish the Great. Mm-hmm. And you'd have a major resurgent Keeland.
Another twist is that you could take the Saltmarsh stuff and backdate it a bit and run it at that same time.
Oh, that I'd say that's almost a given.
Yeah, you got to do that.
That's
the original, the old school one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any version, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Just as long as you're running them, yes, you got to run that. You'd have to put that in there. But let's say the Tolly do something particularly evil, and they win.
Then it's bad.
And yes, and an evil Tolly necromancer lord sets foot in Gradsol.
Another great kingdom.
So these are all ways you could really mess with the timeline here, and mess with the future, play games, or again, these are stakes you can put forward to the players. Because Tavish III died, why continue supporting the roller? Why continue supporting Tavish IV in Keeland when Prince Lucian in Monberg is really the better man? Well, Prince Lucian is the better man, but he's allied with the Tolly, and you have to make sure the Tolly do not win.
Right.
I mean, this is definitely a campaign where you could give the PCs their own ship, and have them traveling to all these potential ports and adventure locales in that region. So
it always seemed to me that, and I could be wrong, all the Greyhawk adventuring with the Sea Barons and the Red Fleet, Crimson, whatever, and all that, it was all like, all right, we're going to throw a little piracy in here, but it just didn't feel like the golden age, right? Do you understand what I'm saying on that? This kind of feels like a golden age opportunity.
This would be the golden age.
Right.
A couple. You have 100 ships on either side sailing against each other.
Yeah, and that's what I like is that feel to it. So.
Yeah.
This is one campaign where you could play both sides. I mean, you could be, more of a goody-goody Q-ish ship that is, has a letter of marque to take down any Sea Prince ship they can take. And, with the positive benefit that you're stopping slavery.
All right, dumb question. No, you may not be able to answer this off in a tangent. Hey, Death Ray, thanks. What's the largest ship? Is it a ship of the line level with catapults and stuff? You think?
Oh, no, not even close. See, that's kind of one of the things that's really difficult to sustain in Greyhawk. I mean, unless you're getting really bizarre with the tech level.
Yeah.
No, ships are smaller. They're smaller caravels, maybe carracks at most. A couple of ballista, maybe 5 or so. They're not really huge ships, and combat's going to be way more on the boarding action side of things.
Lots of galleys.
Yeah, we don't have cannon, and well, movies aside, a catapult doesn't really work on a ship. A super large crossbow does. A catapult doesn't.
Let me, and it's not like old school. If there are mages on, man, they're blasting each other. Yeah,
well,
that's the thing.
I feel like in a fantasy setting that has wizards, to have sea mages, which I basically created in the setting for Gradsoul, are almost a must. I mean, you'd be dumb not to have a cleric of a water god or a mage with water powers on your ship. It'd be almost a must.
Hey, Geek Dice. So, welcome in Encounter Online. Hope you had a great Greyhawk adventure tonight. We are doing, from Sam Wise and Gary Julian, have put together a publication, the top 12 in their opinion, campaign errors to run things, and we're going back in time. So just so you could see so far where we are in discussion. And this publication is not finalized, but it'll be ready for free download by Sunday night. Okay. So you're all welcome, and it's good to see you, Shane. So here's number 1 time frame: Battle of Temple of Elemental Evil, Rise of Emberty Meadows, battle number 1. 2, Fall of the Bone March. Okay, we already discussed that. 3, the opening of Castle Greyhawk campaign. 4, the Hateful Wars, my baby, my favorite. I did 24-hour stream on it. 5, the Rise of Ayus. Supplement that with a little bit of a Rise of Igwolf. Throw that in there too, in that area. And now we are on number 6. Right now we are talking the Rise of the Sea Princes, 420 to 460. Yeah. Giving everyone some ideas on running, and because I ran a historical 24 hours where I had people run their ancestors. Yep. So
as one of the super asides from this, remember, because of where they're fighting, the Amedio jungle is open, and somebody could wind up in Lost Tomoa-chan.
Yeah. And you could also, there are a lot of other third-party jungle play. There's one in the Pathfinder has. There's a lot of them you can put down there. So
all sorts of colonies could become theaters of the war.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Classic D&D reprint giveaway tonight, everyone. If you already have it, I'll give you something else. But here's a full print of the Free City of Greyhawk box set. But if you already have this, I'll make sure you get something else.
Geez, it looks like a phone book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is cool, and like I said, this feels like the golden era of piracy would be in the game in Greyhawk. So I really like that, and I know Greyhawk Mike would love that too, and that's your source on that. Let's go to number 6.
And also, when you say the 12 best that in our opinion, Gary even said that we could come up with 20. I said I could come up with 50 campaigns.
Right. Yeah.
Just in the Sheldamar. So
man.
I like this
because the depth of all the different kings' struggles and stuff. So yeah, but these are great. So so far, turmoil between crowns and birth of the Iron League campaign, 436 to 450. This was always said turmoil between crowns with the date on it in the original 1980 glossography, and I'm like, what's that mean? Right? So, yep.
That is Greyhawk's War of the Roses.
Yes.
2 factions with allies, both struggling for the crown over an 11-year period. It's a potentially amazing campaign if you like human political campaigns. So there's not a lot of demi-human or monster stuff in here. Maybe some religious, definitely mages and clerics, but you pick a faction as a DM. You could have the PCs as part of the Rax claim with their allies, the Crandons, and have them fighting against the Nalax claim and their allies, the Torquan, with a couple of houses of the celestial houses sitting on the sidelines, waiting to decide the winner. So at the very same time that that's happening, because the Herzog of the South is so brutal with the representatives of Iron Gate and the Iron Hills and Sundi, they form the Iron League in response. So they leave the Great Kingdom and form the Iron League. And so that is another potential beat that you could have going at the same time as you're resolving who is going to get the crown. Now, in the canonical history, Ibid I ends up winning by buying off almost everybody that he can, giving everyone, some independence to buy them off.
It seems to me that out of all the places we discussed so far, I know with the one person who had a campaign here out of Sunday who passed, about a year ago was Gitano, but I don't know a lot of people who. Malin puts up, and you did a great article with him on Iron Gate, but I don't know of many people who are venturing here.
Well, Anna's previous campaign was set here.
It was Rel Devon.
Yeah. And then you have, I think Scott Casper ran something in that area.
Okay.
And our old friend Sam Montand used to love this area.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Monty loved it.
Yeah. So, if you're a fan of something like Game of Thrones, this is the campaign that's very much like Game of Thrones.
Okay.
There's something else about this. I don't actually mention it in this, but it's something I noticed recently when doing some comparisons. Depending on how many dwarves you think live in the Iron Hills or live in the Hestmark Highlands or the Hollow Highlands, and how many Sylvan Elves you think live in the Ruwid,
or the Glorioles.
Well, the Glorioles, it actually says there's over 10,000 mountain dwarves.
So, right, which has got to be equal to like 40,000 humans in an army.
By the way, everyone, that name it was changed. So
yes, so if you assume that many in each of the other hills areas, an equal number in the hills, this area is really close to majority demi-human.
Oh,
and Iron Gate is anywhere from 40 to 60% demi-human.
Yeah, and ID's a lot of halfling too.
They really are the backbone of the Iron League, even though Gygax seems to cover mostly the human. I mean, this is what's a shame about the old Gazetteers and even the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer, is that they don't break out the demi-human realms as actual realms with their own entries, with their own populations and their own history, because I think that would be a lot cooler, and it would actually put them on even footing with all these other human realms.
Right.
Iron Hills is massive.
Yeah, so technically Sunday joins the Iron League after the Battle of 1,000 Banners, but I do vaguely recall that there was an elven contingent there.
Yeah, Sunday's a gray elven realm, for the most part.
The Battle of 1,000 Banners was the Siege of Iron Gate. It's where the Iron League actually won its independence.
Another one of the cool battles that could be done by someone, maybe.
Whew.
Yeah, so this whole thing you could look at is almost the eastern half of the map equivalent of the Hateful Wars.
Yeah.
With less hate.
Well,
they all seem to get along. They're not at each other's throats, the demi-humans.
The people in Alyssa, the Overking's cousin in Alyssa, had all the leaders of the Iron League put to death by ritual torture.
Yes.
So I think there might
one of the most evocative scenes in Greyhawk history.
I think there might be quite a bit of hate going on.
Well, human on human, yes, but not so much demi-human centric. But I mean, those hacks who wrote the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer really missed an opportunity here to tell some of this material.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
are you saying that it was cut out, Gary, or it just wasn't written?
No,
right?
it just wasn't. We just didn't think about it. I mean, we really should have broken out the Iron Hills. Most of the the Elven realms could stand as their own.
Right.
Even I only looked at. The thing is, of course, I focus on the Sheldamore. But when I actually looked at it 25 years later now, it stood out to me. It's like, wait a minute, how many elves, how many dwarves are in these places?
It's a cool area on Greyhawk that is, like I said, does not get adventured enough in. It really does.
I mean, there's very few published adventures in this area,
except for one.
It's hard to count Tomb of Horrors because it really isn't related to the political or
true
situation in there. But yeah, I mean, it has such potential.
Yeah. Yes, I think there should be. Like I say, there should be something more here with a demi-human league of the South.
Yeah. I mean, Iron League is perfect if you want to do a kind of, spy versus spy type campaign. You have the PCs as a party of Iron Leaguers who are venturing into the South Province to, upset trade routes and, mess with the Herzog of the South all the time, who can, play the role of the, Sheriff of Nottingham type.
There you go. Yeah. And the Rue-Wood filled with all the Sylvan elves, merry men, the elven men of
As we go back in time through this list, each entry becomes more challenging for the DM. They'll have to supply more of their information. Yeah. So, but it also frees you from having to concern yourself about much canon. So,
yeah.
Let's go to number 8. Wow. Now we're getting way back in time. Dawn of the Death Knights campaign. Whoa, look at that.
My baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This one's definitely all Gary's.
So,
yes.
Well, let's tie this in. I don't know if whoever watched Monday night, but the husband-wife team from Marquee Gaming, they're playing my game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel was so impressed with the Saint Benedor that's who she's playing. She's playing a priestess of Saint Benedor for Saturday.
Oh, cool!
Just so you're aware. Yeah. Yep. Half
Jay,
elven.
You've had more players play those than I have.
Cool story. No, that's funny, guy. That's So, well, that's because you wrote. I gave her the Earth Journal link for the story, and then I gave her the Visions link for my priest, and it's all written up, right? But it's complete. So, but this is a cool idea because everyone talks Kargath, but doesn't know anything about him, right? It's like another one of those things.
Well, Scott Benny's original article was evocative, but it didn't have much detail. And he certainly wasn't allowed to say anything about any connections to a campaign setting like World of Greyhawk. So when I read that article, it always stuck with me, and I ended up creating some Death Knights in my campaign. And when I had the opportunity to talk to Eric Mona in the early 90s, and we were both just college students, I, was telling him all about my campaign and some of the things I created. And I told him why I said, well, I took St. Kargoth and I looked at the Fiend Folio, and the Fiend Folio said there was 13 Death Knights. And so I said, well, I'm going to, I created 13 Death Knights for the Great Kingdom. And I kind of tied it to the era in which the Great Kingdom starts to take a turn, right? So the peak of the Great Kingdom is between about 100 to 254 common year.
Right.
That's when they've added Furiandi and the northern reaches, and they've essentially grown almost as big as they're ever going to get. And so this time is a time of navel gazing. You have knights who no longer have as many enemies to fight because the expanding frontiers of the Great Kingdom have slowed. And so I introduced in Dragons 290 and 291, Eric. So Eric then 8 years later lets me publish my Death Knights idea in the pages of Dragon. Mm-hmm. And so I write up an origin story for St. Kargoth and his 13 fellow Death Knights that follows them as Knights Protector of the Great Kingdom, and has them essentially sell their souls to Demogorgon for the right to become Death Knights. And in the case of some of them, they did that unknowingly. They were duped. So this campaign essentially takes you from those moments when St. Kargoth turns against his fellows in the Great Kingdom, becomes this powerful Death Knight, and for the next decade, the Knights Protector of the Great Kingdom is essentially hunting down these Death Knights. They're trying to root them out and destroy them. In many cases, they are killed. But what they discover is that because Demogorgon holds their soul gem, within a year, they're back. Every time you kill one, within a year, they're back. So they reform. So you have to somehow destroy their soul gem first before you can permanently kill them. I did not. Oh, no. So Jim, I didn't choose Demogorgon. Benny. No, Demogorgon is listed in the original Fiend Folio, as the creator of the Death Knights.
So whoever wrote that from the UK,
yes,
did that, and we don't know. That's lost to time, we believe.
So I know Orcus might make more sense. I know Neril might make more sense. But it's kind of cool to just follow the canon and just run through the implications. The idea that the Urflan, who used to occupy the northern part of the Great Kingdom, worshipped beings like Demogorgon, had temples of them, that were buried and lost, and that somehow Demogorgon is exacting his, slow emerging revenge against the Great Kingdom for all that they destroyed. So this campaign is all about, potentially having PCs who are knights or companions of knights, like clerics and mages, who are hunting down Death Knights all around the Great Kingdom.
How much did you incorporate Haynard of the White Guard from the Benny article?
I have incorporated, but not at this time period. He's a later.
Oh, he's later. Okay, so he's not. He wouldn't be hiring them out then. Okay, all right.
No, he's not even from Orth.
Okay.
I'll do something about that down the road.
Right,
yeah.
And this is where I think it becomes, speaking of those Earthland of the North.
Yeah, so I don't foresee a campaign where you're like toadies of Death Knights, but you could, I guess, run it in the reverse. But for the most part, you're chasing these Death Knights all around the Great Kingdom, and even to kill one and banish it for a year is quite an accomplishment.
What year does the Great Kingdom peak? Is it 100? Or is it AD?
Well, it's peaked. It peaks all the way from 100 to 254. In 254.
See why.
Furiandi breaks away from the Great Kingdom and takes the viceroyalty of Faron with it. And so that's when the Great Kingdom first starts to break up.
Is during the heyday of the Great Kingdom.
It is during the heyday. Yeah. But it's also, 213 is the exact same time when essentially the royal astrologers, the people who know about the change of ages, declare that the Great Kingdom is now entering an age of great sorrow. And so the rise of these Death Knights is one of the factors they would cite as the great sorrow that befell the Great Kingdom.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah, and the Death Knights end up killing a lot of the royal family, a lot of the Rax, the House of Rax. And so the ones that survive for the next 200 years or 180 years are not as impressive as their ancestors. As noted in Carl Sargent's books, they're like drunkards and half-wits, and so you might say that Ibid the First might have had a point, in the turmoil between crowns, because the incompetence in Roxy's was just next level.
Excellent one.
And so the culminating event for this campaign could be when the Knights Protector essentially bombard with catapults and magic the castle of St. Kargoth, destroying it.
What year was that? Is that the end of it? Is that?
Yeah, it's a few years after that, I think.
Okay, really cool. All righty. Wow, now we're talking old now.
And as I said,
look at this.
Land necromancers. This is where they went down. The City of Summer Stars versus the Earthland, the Taraski, as I call them, the necromancers of Trask. And I say it. This, I think, is one of those big traditional tragedies. Fairy tale tragedies.
Right.
It's very much like Tolkien's First Age.
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
It comes from Ibid the Undying, and I wrote a bit about this in one of the an older issue of Earth Journal when I described the two elven kingdoms of the East, the Kingdom of the Sun, the Kingdom of the Summer Stars, and so for a while they actually got along, or at least they didn't fight. But then one day the necromancer said, "We want all your elven stuff."
Yeah, well, of course.
And the elves said no, and the Trask started a war and started to lose it, and started dealing with the Causeway of Fiends. And
if anybody's watching that awful Rings of Power show on Amazon, this place is almost like Eregion. It's a
oh, okay.
It's a civilization of elves, are very haughty, don't think they need anybody's help, and they discovered that the humans to their east have acquired amazing abilities, amazing powers, and those are quite dark in nature.
Right.
And so the prince makes a sword that basically that eats his soul and makes him go Stormbringer on the entire city. He does destroy the Earthland.
Well, he definitely defeats them.
Well, yeah, he defeats them and
knocks them down a few pegs at least.
Which leaves them vulnerable for when the House Nalox conquers them in 100 years or so.
That's right.
And yeah, it's
nice.
But this is
one so of those... you could have the PCs be elves or maybe forest folk in terms of Flan at this time, and have them going up against these necromancers and their servants, which could range from just simple skeletons all the way up to liches. So it has a tragic end, although I suggest in my work that the survivors of the City of Summer Stars become the founders of Sunday. They travel south and found Sunday. So you could have the PCs essentially have a happy ending by escaping to that new realm. Okay. Now, some elves choose to remain, and they are called the Sentinels. And these elves are sworn to protect the City of Summer Stars. You could also have the PCs become Sentinels or their, squires, essentially. And they continue to guard the city to this day.
So that's going on for 800-900 years.
That's right. Now, I'll say those dates are very rough. We actually don't have canon on exactly when this happened. We just know that it was before the Great Kingdom moved up to the north.
Right.
And that it's very old, yeah.
And what I suggest, of course, again, playing around with the PCs, doing something stupid to history. Let's say the PCs convince the elf prince not to make that sword. Okay, well, does that mean the elves then win a nice clean battle against the Trask and become an enduring good presence in the north of the Great Kingdom, even as it decays? Or does it mean without the sword, the Trask easily overrun the elves? And now when the Great Kingdom's trying to expand, they have the equivalent of Ayu sitting in North Province waiting for them.
Yeah, the magic, their own magic plus the magic of the elves.
Good options.
So yes, two ways you can really have fun.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely invent some really dark lords for the Earthland here. Put them in charge, and you could have a lot of fun with elven. Go be your blade singer self.
Yeah,
and take on these guys.
This would be kind of the tail end of the Age of Glory for the Earthland. Now, I mean, Vecna, yes, but even this is really tail end of the Age of the Glory for the Earthland, and to a degree almost for the elves as well.
Yes, although we have another entry that has some relevance in that respect.
Alrighty.
And you could really indulge this as like, you know what? No, this is where we're going to run our 20th level campaign.
Yeah, this would be
it'd be
like
pretty epic.
This is like the epicness is jumped up now
Right.
I can see it. It has a Silmarillion feel to it.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Definitely.
And you can just wallow in it in this one.
Yeah. All right, there we go.
Okay. And yes.
That's a long time frame for a campaign.
Okay. I
didn't adjust those dates, but one of the things I talked to Sam about on Sunday was that I wanted to narrow the range so that it was roughly a lifetime of a human and not
right. Well,
or at least the active career of a human. But basically, you're playing in the tail end of Vecna's rule before he's a demigod, before he's a lich, but he's not anything more than a lich. He's still a mortal in that sense.
Absolutely.
Those dates technically cover the entire span from when the Sul first comer started entering the Sheldamar to when Kos, Gax, Vecna, and
Hax's hand and eye out,
and the Council of Nile Draw forms Keeland.
Okay.
So really,
so that might be the ultimate conclusion of the adventure of the campaign, is that you unite all these forces that had united against Vecna.
Right. So if you wanted, it would be -362 to -320, or sorry, -342 to -322.
To really tighten it up. Okay.
Yeah, and you have Selene, holding out against Vecna. You have various dwarven realms and gnomish realms, and even halflings holding out against Vecna in the Good Hills.
Yeah, the regular Flan druidic circles of the Sheldamar.
Yet another Tolkien-esque Dark Lord campaign that you could run.
And
now this is very old, so here's where Sam and I are suggesting that maybe you have bronze weapons and armor at this time.
Yep.
You potentially have a very reduced spell list. Maybe you don't even have wizards at all. Maybe all you have is sorcerers. It's something a DM could play with for sure.
Yeah. And one of the big things here is fleet. This is a campaign where the players can be witness to fleet.
See, now that I was thinking about after Amity Meadows doing a 24-hour one when I did, and where it's that would be cool. The sacking of Fleeth.
Yes, this is where you literally, this whole thing could be based around the PCs being witness to Fleeth.
Yeah.
And as Vecna is explaining to a delegation of apprentices of mages of power within House Nihili. They're all these are like half a dozen guys who are apprentices to Slaritan. And Vecna says, "Yeah, okay, come over here. I got to take care of something, and then I'll be right with you." And he shows them what he does to Fleeth, and they go, "Yeah, maybe we do want to bow down."
That's funny.
And
you got his home base here in Fleeth, yeah. So
you as a DM, you could even have the PCs be the prime movers in motivating Cass to turn on his master.
Yep.
You could put that in. And then again, of course, if you want to get twisted, PCs say, "Can we claim the hand and eye and sort of Cass?" Because they're going to want to, being Johnny on the spot.
my guys are to the point now where they want cool items. They don't want those level items because they know there's just all badness coming.
I'm not chopping off a body part for any artifact.
Yeah.
But there are people out there.
The people who fall for the head of Vecna.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes.
All right.
So
and finally, wow, we're like ahead of schedule.
This is good. Oh, we're good. I think we haven't taken questions or anything like that yet. So, So no battle beneath the waves campaign. Slaughter of the Sea People. Troy.
We didn't get over to one for the Backloonish.
Yeah, we're missing some Backloonish ones, which maybe we could think about adding a couple.
Yeah, this is a great start point here. So, All right,
I mean,
so
remember,
11.
we only started this on Sunday.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Thanks, Bones.
Yeah. Like I say, give us a good 2 weeks, and we will have 100 or so.
Yeah, Curtis, some strange voices here. No, Anna.
Not this developed, but we'd have 100 or so. Just one line. The title and the era and a summary for you.
So this is right at pre-invoke devastation.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so that image is my vision for Sclerotin.
Right. Okay.
Which looks a little bit like Ed Greenwood again.
Yes, but, everyone looks like Ed Greenwood.
And again, yeah, this is a bit extended in time. It's from when the war start until the Twin Cats.
So there's a 65-year war between the Baklunish and the Sul that culminate in the Twin Cataclysms. So you could pick almost any time period in that frame and run it, but it's really those last 20 years where you could get a campaign out of it that ends in something dramatic. We recall that at the end of the 90s, towards the end of the 90s, that TSR published for the Forgotten Realms an Arcane Age supplement and some books to go with it. And so those might be your tools for describing what the power levels were like during the Age of Glory. You just have to make sure that it's fairly balanced on both sides so that one side doesn't automatically win the war.
This would scare me as a DM starting out with super high level characters to start.
This is a challenge. This is definitely a challenge.
Hey, you want to have a Monty Hall couple months? Go for it. Start it and just like.
I don't even know if I'd call it Monty Hall because you probably don't even care about money in this campaign.
No, you're right, but you do care about spells and power. So because you do. So it'd be a lot of.
This is the age of 10th level spells.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is even more epic than the City of Summer Stars.
I'd say so, and but it's you're going back in time. Now you're back almost close to, if you do a 576 start, you're 1,000 years in the past.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah.
So.
Which I think is intentional because Gygax had the ward that Sclerotin cast to block the lost passage of the Souloise. He basically had it last 1,000 years, and as the campaign starts in 576, it's essentially evaporating.
Yeah, and really, this is where you are epic level, and everybody has their own artifact.
Right.
Yeah, just a matter of how many.
Right. Yeah, it could even be how many. Everyone has their own artifact. Everyone has their own epic level spells.
But you must assume that there's some kind of a mad policy going on, mutual assured destruction, so that mages of power don't appear in the capital of the Baklunish and just start zapping people, and vice versa in the capital of the Sul Imperium.
Right.
You have Iridians involved here in the Age of Glory as allies of the Baklunish, so you could potentially have Iridian characters, PCs, fighting the North. You have a lot of humanoids early on, especially as mercs for the Sul, so that could be another.
And I was going to say, on the other side, you can run this as a really grungy, low-level, mercenary campaign where all you're doing is trying to survive.
Yeah.
And never mind the mages of power and the mage priests of the Baklunish. No, you're trying to survive as there are orc and goblin hordes roaming everywhere. And you're just trying to get your Iridians out of the Baklunish lands into the Flanaes proper.
Right.
Maybe you're living in some Sul village far from the capital, and your buddies are being drafted to war. A war that you're essentially going to be, cannon fire, sword cannon, something.
Spear fodder. Or even you're with Ekbir as he's getting the message that doom is coming, and he's got to lead people north to found Ekbir. Mm-hmm. Or you're some of those Suluise people who are the first refugees, first comers, or others leaving the Sul Basin.
So, guys, I've always wanted to run a game where your survivors that are part of Slorotin's group, his 12 tribes, and have to go through the Lost Passage, the many days or weeks that may take to accomplish, and have all sorts of adventures while you're going through there, and then emerge on the other side and have more adventures. So
it's got to be more entertaining than Wagon Train, the TV show.
I mean, it has qualities of the Israelites and Moses, so yeah. I think you could do a lot with it.
Yeah, there's always these options of what you can do with it.
Skagith!
Of course, you could have your PCs somehow end up at the Tovag Baragu at the end of the campaign and watch as everything is incinerated all around them.
Well, yes, that's the downside.
But it's and you could just do a piece of it too. You don't have to, that's the thing. You could do a very, just like I did with the Hateful Wars, a couple of limited battles. You could do some limited encounters or whatever, or stuff. Run it and build it, and we will come. So be the Larara with all the other tribes having left traps in your way. Yeah, you could do something. You could early Larara. You could do that.
One thing I would say about all these campaigns is you actually don't have to run through them. Mm-hmm. You could have them happening simultaneous to your more mundane campaign, and they're just the backdrop on which your PCs are exploring dungeons and keeps and stuff, and really don't involve them until later when things get a little epic.
If you really want to be a storyteller, a weirdo like me, you're playing in modern times, whatever your time frame is, 576, and one of your characters finds a book. It's a family heirloom book, and it goes back like, oh my gosh, they wrote up about this. They wrote up about the Sea Prince's Wars and stuff, and then you just off that. You run that, but you run your Sea Princess one at the same time. Just have a connection somewhere.
Could do that, yeah.
So
yeah,
we liked our third group of characters so much from the Hateful Wars, and that was the last one. So that was like 105 years in the past, or whatever the last that last time frame would be. Maybe not that long, 85 or whatever it was. No, that's right, 105. Then I had to figure out a way to bring them into the future. And I figured it out. So now those characters, Curtis has got one, Brett, Coco, Korg, all those characters now exist in present day, which I think is cool. So just trapped them in a Mirror of Life trapping for a long time. So
and as I said at the beginning, all these campaigns, they're really great ways to set up personal involvement in a modern ongoing campaign. A little aside, and if you have an ongoing campaign, then these aren't actually campaigns; these are historical story arcs to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you just run it and say, okay, we're doing a little bit of a side thing. You run it, you come back and you say, okay, now your characters are in that same place. Remember all that stuff we did? You're in that same place 5, 10, 100, 500 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the other ones that we kind of cut for time was running the first conquest of the Bone March. So
yeah, if you want to run sort of a Romans versus Vikings campaign, or Picts or something like that, Celts.
Yes,
you could do that with that setting.
You could also do the second Bone March campaign, as it were, when Niron declared independence, and the great horde of Frusti had to be stopped from coming down south.
That's another great one. Yeah.
So you could have like 3 successive Bone March campaigns there, and then do a modern time Bone March campaign. And now all the characters have this. Wait, so we're the legacy of a long line of people who have fought in this place.
Mm-hmm.
There's a half dozen official occurrences of the Hand and Eye emerging and creating a lot of problems. Any one of those could be a campaign.
That's a great one.
Yes.
That's a great one. I think that could be, I'm not a fan of Vecna Lives, right?
Well,
but it exists.
Think of it as a source book and not a module.
Yeah. Just
yes.
like the Veil of the Mage adventure, right? It's a source book.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, that one you could just think of as toilet paper.
Yeah, and a lot of these you can run successive campaigns in an area, really build up the background. I mean, as you saw, you ran the Hateful Wars. If you go back, you run the campaign against Vecna II, and it's like, okay, and this is the area the orcs took over in the Pomarsh. You run anything else in the past, the Wild Coast. It says in the book at some times the Wild Coast was controlled by Greyhawk, Selene, Heoland.
Right.
Another use for these entries, you don't even have to do a historical campaign. You could take these entries and use them to inform the lore in your current campaign. So if you happen to be adventuring somewhere where these things occurred historically, like the Hateful Wars, well, you could find artifacts from the Hateful Wars, relics from the Hateful Wars in dungeons and forest, locations all around the Sus and the Lort Mills. So you didn't have to use them the way we were proposing. You could use them just as ideas for where you could put items from the past into the present.
Any artifact of note? I would look at Greyhawk Adventures and all the Greyhawk specific magic items there. That's almost a laundry list of items you would have showing up in some of the historical campaigns.
100%.
Yeah, we were gonna propose one about the founding of Altamira, but Jay sent us a cease and desist.
Yes, because I got too many things going on right now. Yes, absolutely. Any artifacts of note? So, Moose, you guys are all keep it up with the Thrommel stuff. I'm telling you, you guys all got a rude awakening coming in a couple months. You're not gonna like it. I'm gonna love it. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm going to get my way on one thing on this project. One thing. So
Jay's going to put just one product in DM's Guild called the Real Thrommel.
The Real Thrommel. It's going to be. Yeah, so, I'm sorry. Artifacts. Any artifacts of note? Oh my God! Well, you got the Hand of Iron Vecna right there.
I mean, that's definitely one of the biggies. Yeah.
There's got to be in the Summer Stars. There's got to be some artifacts there.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In the Bone March,
Kargoth, all the Death Knights.
Yes.
Death Knights weapons. Kargoth's weapons are an artifact.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I use
Sword of Kos,
and Igwilv have artifacts and relics up in there.
Yeah, I mean you have because you got Shokanth right there. You have all her stuff. You got a Prison of Zagig up there. You got David's Wondrous Lanthorn. You got one of the Demonomicons, I thought too. One of those books. Yeah, you got a lot of the Demonomicon of Igwilv is up there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
And of course, they could find a different Demonomicon somewhere along the way.
Yep. Don't mention that name, Gary. So, yeah, there's a lot of great options, man. This is a wonderful idea. I'm glad I spurned it on, but you guys did all the work, so I appreciate that. And they said this thing is not 100% ready to go out, so they will have a link. Look for it.
Threw it together fast.
Yeah, they threw this together in a few days, which is unbelievable. We appreciate it. But look at hopefully look at Sunday where we have Timothy Brannon on a Sunday night on Gavin for. So what other questions do we have? If not, we'll go out and do some shout outs and I'll talk a little bit more about DM's Guild like I did at the beginning. So any other questions? Time to drain the swamp, the whole marsh, and find some artifacts. Well, the Sea Prince's campaign, there's a lot of options. You already got so much stuff in the whole marsh.
I think every single wetland in the Flannis could be drained and find artifacts. The vast swamp, the Rushmores, the Nat Marsh, they're all hiding secrets.
So I don't know. I don't recall if any of them from Treasures of Greyhawk are in that area there, Patrick. I'd have to think about that. So. Do you think a bit about the War of the Fiery Kings, ancient history, but Moore had some interesting stuff about that? I don't know about that. You got your view?
I do recall it. It was related to the orbs of Dragonkind.
Oh, okay. That had to do with the soul.
And how he described them coming into existence.
Yeah, I have some material on the orbs of Dragonkind that affect some more modern history in the Great Kingdom. So one of the princes actually is mentioned by Roger Moore as having been killed by one of the orbs because he didn't know how to use it.
Doesn't say specifically which one, just says a prince, correct, if I recall?
Well, we know I think it's the son of Erhard II.
Okay.
But as he never became king, we don't know his name.
Patrick, there's so many options, things you could do in the past. And the great thing is, in the past, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to throw out there, one of the artifacts in your artifacts book, and it's there, it should exist in a time frame though, and it gets lost, and then whatever happens to it in the future, you don't need to worry about because you're in the past. So it's just part of the storyline. You could do all sorts of great things.
Another one we could have added there was a campaign centered around when Zagig was a young mortal.
Yeah.
And the city of Greyhawk was just starting to take shape.
That
from a
that'd be very political, I think.
Modest town into the gem of the Flannis that it became. I'm sure Divers wasn't very happy about that.
Can always so maybe Dave. That's how they made by Anna's theory they made Greyhawk the Celantan flow backwards. It's actually canal, right?
It's a toilet.
Yeah. So and Troy threw in the lost treasure of the Sea Princes.
Yeah, there's a legend that the Sea Princes had a treasure fleet that somehow was blown all the way out to the Aerde Sea, practically the Solnor Ocean, and gets caught in that Sargasso that becomes the jungle of lost ships. Yeah. That's an old legend.
I think that's just a glitch, and Jim transposes nations, and it should be a lost treasure fleet of the Lordship of the Isles.
That would make more sense, yeah.
Or maybe of the Sea Barons instead of the Sea Princes.
Although, sometimes in Greyhawk we have this, wonky canon, and we make it work. We just figure out a way to explain it away.
I don't know how, and I'm not bashing anyone. Dave Gregg, cover your ears. I don't know how you post this. A lot of what happens. I mean, there's a lot of cool articles and stuff that you can place that are not independent. I don't know how you could implement Living Greyhawk in its entirety into your campaign. You know what I mean? It's like because there's so many conflicting things and so many. But
well, yeah, I mean the works are not available generally speaking,
right?
So you couldn't assemble them anyway. But even if you could. Any stories that cross boundaries would probably be in conflict in some sense.
Well, that's what Dave did with the Future Keerland one and his Greyhawk Reborn. So, if you keep it centralized, but I'm just saying, it's just, wow.
Now, I don't know, maybe the authors of those modules, if they're still around, could resubmit them to DM's Guild. Do whatever spin that you can do on it to rebrand it.
Yeah, you got to convert it.
Upgrade it, update it to 5th edition, and then respin it as a new work and submit it there, and then people can legitimately get it.
So let's go back here and as we're talking about that. I didn't even think about that, Dave. Wow. I think it's all possible. It's very possible, right? It's possible.
Theoretically,
yeah. So now I just got to find this again here.
I mean, one of the reasons they couldn't publish them themselves right now to their own website is because they're entangled with IP. But DM's Guild solves that problem.
All right. Here we are. Back here. So I think you'll see some, just like anything, some content that's not Greyhawk at all that people go, here's some monsters for it, right? Okay, cool. And then there's going to be some that's going to be real content on here published, which will be really neat. So I don't care if it's in 5th edition. I really don't. I want more people to come into the community, and I think it's starting to happen. So we just need to keep on doing what we're doing. So thanks, Patrick, for doing that. So I just note, I'm hoping that maybe we can talk to the community a little bit next Wednesday on what we're doing. So, but got a meeting on Thursday.
Do you have
Tuesday night
topic for next Wednesday?
I do not, and I have not discussed it at all. So we do not have it. We never for Legends Lore are a week ahead anymore. Gavin, I'm usually a week or two ahead, but for Legends Lore, it's usually that weekend coming up. So, you know, so just and look, when you click on this, this goes to all the old modules for DM's Guild, right? So, and it looks like there's a lot of brand new stuff. People were thinking it's going to open. There's a lot of, it looks like remakes here and stuff already. So, I mean, a lot of it's Saltmarsh stuff. So, yeah, it looks like that's it. Yeah. So, nope. Okay.
It would be cool if someone in the community out there started curating what's soon to appear on DM's Guild and telling us what the quality of what they see is.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good cannon fire Discord discussion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because that could be a lot. It could be an influx, crazy influx. We just don't know.
Could be. Yeah. Judging by how much stuff was created for Saltmarsh, it could be tremendous.
Could be a tremendous.
Yeah. Looking at the list from the basic link, I saw a lot of things.
The great thing is that you can completely ignore all of it, or use, say, oh, this is cool, and utilize it, so, which is really neat with the concept. So, any other questions or comments tonight? Thanks. I mean, we got got a healthy amount on. Look at that, and it's right at 9. See, I knew that we'd get through this no problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gary and I were writing it. I knew, we could easily fill that out.
So, what do you guys got? What else you guys got going?
Well, together we're hoping to at some point put together a Sheldamar Valley Gazetteer that is one of the missing gazetteers from the Sargent era. If Sargent had the time,
right?
What kind of product would he put out? Well, it wouldn't look like the one we're going to put out because we're insanely into the Sheldamar Valley. You're going to have way too much detail, but we're going to try to put that out next year or so. That's one project. And then individually, we both have projects that we're also working on. I'm working on Visions for the Underdark special. So got a slightly delayed on that, but I think I can still make it as a Halloween
and
effort.
Yeah, we're also in final on the Grey Grimoire.
Oh, good.
And I have like I said last time, I have more of my TNC stuff. Another part of that came out on the ancient history, and I'll probably be trying to write one for the Central Flanays. Just collect a bunch of dates and add a bunch of my craziness to the Central Flanays.
Nyrond? Is that Central Flanays?
Fury Iron, Northern Reaches, and Greyhawk and the Celantan.
All the nations that surround the Nerdiv and that. What I would just say to everybody, since this might be the last chance I have for a little while, is that we're going to have an influx of new people probably Googling Greyhawk and stumbling on our websites and projects and stuff. So I would keep that in mind and maybe make things more accessible and easier to find. I know I have a huge project ahead of me to try to disgorge what's available on Cannon Fire, because it's a 24-year-old website that shows its age every day. So I'm going to try to bring a lot of that material to the front page and help people find it. And then I know there's projects out there that are helping new people to understand what Greyhawk is. It will be interesting to see what the DMG says about Greyhawk, because then we could pivot off that and tell people what they might be missing, because we know there's going to be we know it's going to be a very light take on the setting and probably not very detailed. And people should be aware that they could find a ton of material for Greyhawk out there.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote my my light intros and such. I keep writing another one of those every now and then when I get the inspiration.
Okay. We got a lot going on through the end of the year.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. My only bad thing is that when that DM's guide comes out, that I hope it comes out early. Like it could come out as early as the 12th or the 15th. I heard. My surgery's the 18th, and I'm gonna be out for a couple weeks. So yeah, so I'm like, oof.
Do you plan on putting your channel on hiatus, or are you gonna have some guests or something?
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'll be able to sit here and maybe do some some talk shows. I won't be able to get down in the basement though. I know that for a fact. So yeah. What have you
Maybe they could wheel you out like that apparatus from The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, well, that would be my mother. I mean, my mother. Geez, my wife. That would be my So we're let's not be too hopeful here. So. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna have some stuff I'm gonna need to get. We're all gonna need to get done. So, but rest of the week, got some fun things here. Let's take a look at this real quick. So, I got Trade Town back on the map. It'll be used for both Thursday night start and Saturday night start because I just don't have the energy to change out the terrain. My son and I last night did the entire winter terrain change out that we had up on the table and did all this wonderful stuff. This is a tributary.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Thanks. This is and the new one I added in. Even though I've had it for a bit, I added the windmills added in. They moved the fort. They said, we don't need it there, so they need the windmill. So that's a new build there. So this is right off of one of the tributaries of the Jewel near Altamira on the outskirts. It's called Trade Town. So, yep. So the back part will change a little bit for Thursday and Saturday, but the fronts it'll be a couple of weeks apart, the adventures, but yeah, we'll be the same. So yeah, and there we go. So yeah, another new god tomorrow night, whatever that means. So the Reborn Adventuring Group. I only have Walt, Tom, and Coco, but we'll have a six character party. It'll be fine with that. So that is tomorrow, and then Saturday morning at 10 to 2. I got both Rachel and Mark from Marquee Gaming. I got Coco. I got Sir Timothy and Korg the Mighty, not the ever mysterious Tim, but Stronghold D&D Tim with Nuclear Meat, the worst named adventure group, and the Triple Dilemma, and that will start there too. And yes, that was the character that Gary that she made up, and I got her right here. Here she is actually from Lord Gazumba's house. She's half elven. Yvette Ilthal of House Gistrul. There you go. She wanted to be in all black, and it's not a great print off there with her bastard sword and her crossbow and stuff. So
half elven, we won't hold that too much against her.
Yes, and yeah. It's humans and half elves can be Saint Benedict or priests. Well, at least that's the way I have it. So
no, I think that's cool.
Yeah. So that'll be on Saturday, and then Sunday night. Let's kick off the holiday. This Timothy Brannon finally, the Witch creator, and a whole bunch of blogs, a whole bunch of posts. So we'll get him. Yes. So I use his first edition Witch guide. I think he has it for all. He may have done it in fifth. I know he did first, second, third, and fourth. But he's got some other things he's done too. So we're gonna have him on Sunday, and that'll finish up the week. So we got 3 more streams still this week with a 5 stream week. So let's do the giveaway here. Let's go exclamation point drawing. Okay. Let's do it, and then I think I forget who do we rate into last Wednesday. I don't want to rate into them again 2 weeks in a row. Was it Stronghold or was it? I think it was someone else. I did. I'm losing track. It's okay. All right, here. Let me close this out here. Closing it out. Let's see who wins tonight. The winner is if I can get it to go forward. Why didn't that go? Naz.
The Naz. The longest subs.
Yes, the 71 months. It's insane. That's like
I played with him in Orinir's game.
Good to hear.
Very nice guy.
Good to hear. Awesome, Tim. I'll get with you on UK options. How's that sound? All right. So, as always, thanks, man. And yeah, it's good to see everyone. Let me go back here to the main screen. So, we got a lot going on. We'll figure out a Legends lore for next week over the weekend. Hopefully, I don't know when Anna's going to be back. So I don't know if she's going to be here for Gavin Sunday. I don't think so, but I think Tim's going to step in because he's huge into witches. So it'll be Tim and me interviewing Timothy Brandon. So, yep. But I really appreciate this. This was a really fun one. A really good one. Yeah. I will be doing Emerald Meadows Adventures next. That'll be my next one. I do. When it is, probably sometime 2025 after GaryCon. I got two. Yeah. It's a lot of work prepping up for that the way I do it. Yeah. Thanks, Brooding. So, all right. Man, I'm gonna flip a coin. I'll flip a coin. Oh, here you go. Heads, Folk and Myth, and Tails, Stronghold. It is Tails. So there we go. Alrighty, we'll see you all tomorrow night, 7:30. Enjoy. Hopefully everyone's enjoying what you see, and keep. Nah, man, it wasn't right. Keep it. Keep the faith, and when you welcome people into Greyhawk, direct them please to the community here. You know, we're trying to do our best to really, because it's going to be an influx, and we're excited. Thanks, Mythical. We'll get the wrong button. So let's get this set up. Set the raid up. See y'all tomorrow night. Raid. Gary, sit on, and Sam, sit on for a second on, if you can. I want to ask you something.
Sure.
Alrighty, awesome number. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow night.